What is up, home care owners and enthusiasts? This is Lucas Carroll from the Business of Senior Care. Hope you guys are doing great today. I'm excited to talk to you about home care compliance, and this is for our wonderful Colorado Class A and Class B agencies. And today I just wanted to walk through a little bit about planning out the rest of the year. So more than halfway through 2023, and we have the last 6 months or so to make sure that we check off everything on our list that needs to be done from a compliance perspective. So I have this tool here, which I'll share and post, but I just wanted to walk through this a little bit and help it. The whole point is to just go ahead and plan out the rest of the year, put it on your calendar, and then set it and forget it and execute. So this is 3 pages, this tool, and it starts with the checklist up top. So let me make it a little smaller, or a little bigger, or a little smaller. Okay, so this is a planning out for compliance it's for the whole year, but now we're 6 months in, so we're just looking at the items that would apply for the last 6 months. And the way this works is we have all these items on the checklist. These are all the items that need to be done from chapters 2 and chapters 26 for a Class A or a Class B home care agency. And these items need to be completed from regulation perspective. And I consolidate all these into one sheet so you can see what needs to be done. So if we start on the top left, this is for license renewal. So just gauging, and you typically get notifications on when license renewal is up, but just making sure that you're prepared for that and putting it on the calendar. That's approximately really 90 days out. So if 90 days out from your renewal date, put that on the calendar to then start being sure to pay attention to notifications from the portal and make sure your insurance is up to date and getting that process started. And I know that oftentimes there's a delay in making sure that you do get the renewal, but at least from your perspective, you'll have control over that. Next, for governing body. So for governing body, there's an annual requirement to review your policies and procedures. So this is going to go along, this annual requirement is going to filter through to a number of these other items. And so what I typically do or recommend to do is just to put a date on the calendar that's either before the end of the year or after the end of the year. And this is that one day where you block off 1 to 2 hours with yourself and with the governing body team, and you're going to review a number of different major systems and programs to make sure that you meet the requirement, and then also just as a good practice to see if there's items that you need to adjust for your agency. So for this governing body, the requirement is to review your P&Ps annually, and then also to review your operations. So setting that as one meeting to do that, along with a couple other things that we'll talk about. Quality management plan. So making sure that you have QMP in place. Also making sure you got your QA meetings. So quarterly quality assurance meetings, just put them on the calendar. You got Q3 and Q4. Just go ahead and put a date, invite whoever you need to, and then you can be sure that you have your QA meetings. For caregivers or for staff for ongoing training, this talks about Class B, but certainly applies to Class A. So there's a differentiation between your homemakers and personal care workers, but you need either 4 or 6 topics of training annually. And if you haven't, in the first 6 months of the year, consistently planned that, you have the rest of this year to knock that out. So, 6 months, 6 topics, could be a topic a month, could be 2 topics and you alternate months, something like that. But just planning for it now and putting it on the calendar is a great idea. In the middle column here is emergency preparedness. So this needs to be reviewed annually, and then if you ever activate your emergency plan. So chances are you probably did not activate your emergency plan unless you still have it going from the pandemic. And if you do, then that would be something for the pandemic to probably close it out, to have a meeting either as part of your annual review or a special meeting just to close out your activation of your emergency plan and write any notes in there for ways to do it better in the future, and then close it out. And then also making sure that you have conducted a risk assessment. And if you did that once, you just have to look at it and make sure that it might still apply to your agency. And then making sure that it's part of your training for upon hire and annually, that you are doing training on what the emergency preparedness plan is. Infection control, so that works the same way, making sure that there's an annual review and training. And this annual agency evaluation, this is actually a new and updated regulation for Class B agencies. There's specific items that you need to review, and then these four terms: appropriateness, adequacy, effectiveness, and efficiency. These need to be incorporated into your annual review. And so what I always recommend is do your annual agency evaluation and then review everything else at the same time. And if you need a concise program, I do offer for sale on the website an annual agency evaluation. It's the full packet of everything that needs to be reviewed on an annual basis. You do it one time, you use the form, get all the documents from your agency and knock it out, and then you're done. Over here for clients, if you're going to raise rates, you do need an annual review of all your service dates and times. And then if you're going to raise rates, you have to prepare and send out a 30-day notice, at least a 30-day notice in advance. For supervision, just reminding that supervision needs to take place at least every 3 months. Now, the tricky part here is that it actually applies to clients. So the supervision needs to apply to every client. So every client needs to be visited every 3 months, and then also supervising the caregiver that's there. So common misconception that the caregiver is the one that needs to be supervised every 90 days or 3 months, but it's actually the client. So when the caregiver is there, you're supervising them too, but you're really conducting that supervisory visit for the client. And then you're doing an annual evaluation, so making sure that you conduct an annual evaluation for each caregiver. Now, for your administrators and HCA managers, making sure that if you have started in the position, that you complete that 8-hour training, and then also either 12 or 16 hours, depending on if you're Class A or Class B, annually, making sure that you are planning out and getting your training either online, going to a conference, whatever you need to do to make sure you get your hours. And the last couple here, occurrence reporting, making sure that you do training for staff on abuse and neglect and how they report, and that you're maintaining. So if you have an open investigation or investigation that you really haven't just compiled all of your documents, now's a good time to do that. And then last, consumer complaints. So making sure that you have an active consumer complaint program and you have a log that's recording your consumer complaints for at least the last 2 years. So these are the items that need to be completed on an annual basis. And so what do we do? How do we put that in practice? So as part of this sheet here, this tool is just the 12 months of the year. And again, now we're talking about the last 6 months, is to go ahead and just bullet it out. So this is an example of what you might do to get between now and the end of the year. It includes things like annual training for infection control. Also, it's scheduling out your soup visits. So you can break it up based on the last name alphabet or whatever system works for you to make sure that you do that. Here's a bullet for August for administrator training, making sure you get your CEUs. Annual evaluations, if you want to save that for 1 month of the year or do it throughout the year. And then in December, the bulleted here for the annual agency evaluation, along with your quarterly QMP meeting. So just once you just plan everything out and rolling 12 months, it makes it go a lot easier. You put invites on the calendar, you organize your training, whatever you need to do. So this is just an overview of what it could look like to make sure that you stay in compliance throughout the year. And this up here is just a good way to, if you haven't done all the items so far this year, that you can hop on it and plan out the rest of the year and still be in compliance. Any questions, any issues? If you want a game plan on this for your agency, just reach out to me, book a call, and then let's talk about it. Thanks, guys. Have a great day.